What's up guys, NJW450 here, and I know I said I would start doing videos last week, but last week was hectic and crazy. But here I am now. So, here's what we're going to do. We are going to explore very awesome concepts and level design and gameplay of a franchise that I grew up with. And we're going to start with the very first Halo Combat Evolved. Now, for me to do the best type of video possible in analyzing Halo Combat Evolved, I need to sit here and look at both the original and also the Anniversary Edition, both provided off and on the MCC, the Master Chief Collection. So, what I'm going to start with is Halo Combat Evolved. So let's get right to it. Okay, so Halo Combat Evolved, it is probably one of my favorite games of all time. One of, not my favorite game. One of my favorite game is a completely different game. But with this game, which I considered very well made, it has its things to be praised for, and it has its flaws. Both the Combat Evolved, the original, and the Anniversary Editions, each had their pros and cons to them. So let's start with Halo Combat Evolved, the original. So, here are some things that I absolutely love about Combat Evolved, the things that I like. The graphics were amazing for the time it was created, and can still somewhat hold its own today as a decently made game in terms of graphics. Everything went right in terms of how the Covenant looked, and how the Marines looked, and how the Grunts looked, and the Jackals, how everything looked. You could tell that from those graphics that everything was made purposefully and had a good sense of, they knew how it was being made. Next, as I was kind of talking about the looks of the AI, but the AI of this game was absolutely revolutionary. Now, to be more specific, the enemy AI, the ally AI, were and always have been very stupid, but that's not the point. In this game, you can throw a grenade and enemies will actually dodge away from the grenades. You can shoot an elite until his shields went down and he would go for cover, something that is completely new. That was completely new in games. You kill an elite, the Grunts go running wild and crazy, scared for their lives. Like, it's not something you would see before. And Halo comes in, Bungie comes in with these ideas and the coding implemented to make this seem more lively, like you're actually fighting an enemy rather than some computer-generated enemy. Next, let's move on to lighting. To be more specific, the lighting on 2 levels, which I think were done perfectly to set the tone of each of those levels. And that is the levels the 343 Guilty Spark and the Library. Those levels, their lighting was perfect for the tone in the sense of it's mysterious, it's clouded, and 343 Guilty Spark is mysterious, clouded, very dark. You don't know what you're actually going into. Now, the Library. Its lighting also worked well for it. Each time you're in a hallway where it's dark and you're constantly having to fight and shoot down enemies, the flood, it is absolutely astounding how scary that can get. And then you get to the elevator at the end of each section, and you get that ray of hope, because that's when it's the brightest. You get that hope that everything is done, only for you to start at it again. I think the lighting really sets the tone for those two levels, each to set up the mystery of what the flood is, and also to set up what it means to fight hordes and hordes of this really weird and mysterious enemy. Now, going from the lighting to just gameplay overall. You put it all together, the level design, the AI, how everything sounds, everything just works well. It all fits together to form a very coherent gameplay that runs absolutely amazing and plays amazing and feels smooth, and it's fun at the same time. And all that comes together to just sort of revolutionize how first-person shooter games were made and played. Think about Wolfenstein 3D. The enemies were very static, and they'd just literally sit there as you shot them to death. Doom. Enemies were pretty static, and once they noticed you're there, which that wasn't taking long, as soon as you're in the room, every enemy knew you were there. They would stand there static until you shot them down. And we considered that, put that into perspective, into how Halo is then played, where enemies are dodging and running for cover and running out of fear. You realize that these enemies aren't static. They're not just sitting there waiting for you to shoot them to death. They're actually sitting there. Well, they're not even sitting there. They're shooting back, and it actually feels like a firefight. And don't get me wrong, GoldenEye is an amazing game, and it also does revolutionize FPS and how that's played, making it on a three-dimensional level. But those enemies were also static. They didn't do much. They sat there until you blew them up or they died. Unless you were playing against a friend. Then, I mean, that's not really an AI situation, but anyways, it really puts into perspective of what Halo wanted to be, which is a game that is both tactical when it needed to be, but it's also a game where it can be guns galore if it wanted to be. Take for instance Truth and Reconciliation level. That game is, or that level is specifically designed for you to try to be as stealthy as possible, but at the same time, if you didn't want to do that, you didn't have to, which is pretty awesome. Nowadays, when levels implement that sort of system, they have to be purely stealthy, or you won't win, you'll die. In that sense, you had the choice. If you wanted to go stealthy, take your sniper rifle and shoot down 1,500 enemies before the Marines actually get involved, why not? But you also want to just go in with your assault rifle and put 100 bullets into the nearest grunt, you can do that too. And it all works so well, it really does. Especially, and this is my favorite part of the game, its art style, its color palette. That is what sets the mood for the game the best. The color palette and the art style that is presented really shows that even though we don't know the full story, which I'll talk about earlier, of what's going on, or talk about later, about what's going on, it still sets the mood that you're in a situation where you're outnumbered, outpowered, and you have to fight an enemy that's overwhelming, no matter what type of enemy it is, be it Flood or Covenant. And those are just some of the things that I love about the game. Now here are some of the things that I dislike about the game. You may agree with me, you may not. These are my opinions. You have your own. I understand that. So, first thing, the lighting on some of the levels just was not good. The silent cartographer was well lit, but the level after that, not my favorite lighting, if I had to be honest. I think the lighting kind of goes back and forth between wanting to be fully lit and dark, and it's just kind of not very good for immersion. So I'm not it's not my favorite lighting. The level design was not exactly the best either. Don't get me wrong, it had some amazing level design. Again, Silent Cartographer, amazing level design. The library, although an amazing level, I love playing that level. Its map is pretty repetitive. So it's not the best level design in that sense. The next thing, and these are the next couple of things, both involve the story of it. The universe, the Halo universe at that point is widely unexplored. And it ties into my idea that the story doesn't have that good of a coherent start. And what I mean is that you're left with wondering what is happening. You don't know what exactly is happening, and so you sit here playing the game and you're just like, what is the Covenant? What are elites? What are grunts? What is the UNSC? You don't know that. What about Earth? What is Reach? What is Cortana? You don't know a lot of these things because, well, to be fair, the lore is just starting to be built. But it's starting off as if the lore is already established. Which in some ways is not exactly the best idea, in my opinion. Because I get what they did with the cryo tube, the cryo chamber, where they kind of just thrust the player in along with Master Chief into this fight. But it's not a great introduction to the lore. That's pretty much what I disliked about Halo Combat Evolved. And don't get me wrong, the story, the story itself is not bad. It's not my favorite Halo story. We'll get into that probably next week, but it's not bad. Now let's move on to the Anniversary Edition. I just want to say right now, I think the Anniversary Edition is fun, but I think it pales in comparison to the original. Here's what I liked about it. The use of the bumpers for the 360 and now the Xbox One controller both implement the bumpers well. Both versions, the Anniversary, Master Chief Collection Anniversary, and the regular Anniversary release of the 360. I think the bumpers were implemented pretty well. Overall, the game is more pleasing to the eye. It's much more easier to look at. But that comes with a but, which we'll discuss in a little bit. My dislikes. I very much so dislike the color palette. I think it ruins what made Halo Combat Evolved Halo. In my opinion, I think it really lessens the tone of the story of the game. And it kind of sucks from a storytelling point of view that the color palette does not match what the tone wants it to be. The lighting was absolutely ruined in 343 Guilty Spark and the library. Like I said, the lighting in each of those levels set the tone for each of those levels very well. With 343 Guilty Spark, it's a swampy, dark mysterious level. And Anniversary, it's bright. It's lush. It's like sort of swampy, but more rainforesty. And so it's just simply, it's not as mysterious of a lighting that you would want. And the library was very bright. It kind of ruined what the purpose of that level was to set up the Flood as being a very powerful and dangerous foe. So that just kind of ruined that as well. And overall, though, the graphics of the Anniversary, although more pleasing to the eye, I think it ruins a lot. There's a lot more cons to it than there are pros. I think that the game went from this tone of overpowered and overwhelming enemy that you have to somehow defeat to, okay, we're going to be like literally every FPS game that has been released since the original Halo. And I don't like it. I don't like the graphics of Combat Evolved Anniversary. I wish they would stick more with the color palette. I wish that some things would just be different. But that's my opinion. I love Combat Evolved. I think it's a fantastic game. I don't dislike Anniversary Edition. I like it. It's still fun. Mostly it's the same feel, meaning gameplay still feels the same, the AI still feels the same, weapons feel the same, sounds were definitely improved, I'll give it that. I just wish some things were different about Anniversary, but overall, I think it's still a good game. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you agree, disagree with whatever I said. I would honestly give Halo Combat Evolved probably overall an 8 out of 10. From modern standards, if I was back then, probably a 9 out of 10. It's still not a perfect game, but it is an amazing one. So, thank you once again for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you Wednesday, and it'll be fantastic, because I have no idea what I'm going to be playing for Wednesday. Yeah! See you guys.